Good morning, everyone, and it is a Monday morning, so don't beat me up too hard if I'm starting off on a Monday and starting slow, but we're getting going. Uh, Here we are once again at Walk the Web, and I'm Dr. Aaron Dishno, and well, here it is. We're jumping right in. We're in the middle of checking out some different things, creating a plugin that does a mini golf game. And to do that, it's basically showing me all the different places that we need to set up so others can make games. Everything from creating hooks in the right places in the code so that you can add your pieces of JavaScript and have them run at certain instances within the code, but also being able to do certain functions. And today, one of the things we're focusing on, this is kind of picking up where I left off on Saturday, is whenever we walk into a certain area, we want to be able to load certain animations to our avatar so that it can take effect in those sections, and then when we walk out of those sections, we can basically unload that animation. So in this case, when we walk close to a golf hole, we want to load the animation to our avatar that tells us we're going to play golf, and here's something that we may need, which is a putt, for example. And so on Saturday, we created the putt animation, and we got it all set and ready to go. And today, we're going to continue working on the part that sets it up and loads that particular animation to our character when we do it. Okay, after we do that, we're going to make sure that it ties to whenever you walk into the action zone, then it'll automatically load that animation. And when you walk out of it, we want to make sure that it clears it off of our avatar. So we've got a few steps here, different pieces that we're going to put in place. The other day when I was working on it, I kind of took a stopping break and did a little bit of review of where I was in the code and everything else. And I wanted to make sure we could do this very fluently and it's repeatable, and also be able to do it from your code or mine, be able to do it as a plugin where you're adding animations that are available, opposed to if you were doing anything else. There's just different ways of doing different pieces and tying them in. And I want to make sure that everybody can do them and they won't interfere with each other. And that's kind of the gist of what we're trying to do. So with that said, here we go. We're going to jump right in. And start with the code page. Okay, on the code page, first thing is when I look at my avatar animations, this is a list of all of the animations that are loaded for the that are available for avatars. Doesn't mean they're loaded for an avatar. It just means that they're available. So in this case, one of the things about it is we basically have the definitions of what it can do. So in here, what you're going to see is, first of all, it gives it an animation ID so that we know some type of unique ID for that particular animation. If it requires a login, so if it's only being used for login characters, if it's tied to a specific user ID, or actually I'm saying loaded from a particular user ID, or if it's one of the default ones that came with the program, so you'll know where they came from. Load priority. This is kind of interesting. Load priority is this. When you first load your avatar and he joins into the scene or whatever, I put him in a priority just so that, for example, if you start to walk, immediately walk is available. Turning right and left is second available. Backup, on run backup, fast, running left and right, strafing, those kind of things get loaded first. And then it starts loading your options and your other gestures and stuff. So the load priority has to do with when we're loading these particular items into the scenes. Onto the avatar, sorry. When we're loading these particular items onto the avatar. Then we have an animation name. This is the function name of what we're doing. Okay, so this is what, not only is it the function name, but it's the key name value for when we tell it to perform the animation. So if I called it on WTW golf putt, then that would be the name of the actual animation runtime animation, so that you could tell it put the weight higher and basically run that animation. So that's kind of how that all goes through. And then we have a friendly name, which is if you bring it up in any list or something. If there's an icon for that particular name, those are mostly our optional animations, can have icons that get added to it. So if they show up on our list, you can see them as a possible animation. Notice that on option are the ones that can do this particular function. Otherwise, on run, you really don't see any animation icons for them or anything. On options are the ones that show up in the list for your avatar just by going down the list and clicking it. So if you were to add one called on option, then it would be available as one of the pieces that they pick. Okay, then we have object folder is wherever it is in the system. Babylon file that it calls to load it. We have start frame, end frame, animation loop, if it loops or not. It's a 0 or a 1. Speed ratio. 1 would be normal speed. You could speed it up or slow it down. And then we have some things that are related to sound and the distance that you would hear that sound. And then finally, just like all the rest of our tables, we have when that item was created, when it was updated last, and if it's been deleted, and who did it, for each one of those items. Okay, so with all that said, one of the things we do not have in here yet is we need a field, just like when we load, let me get an example here. When I load a building mold, one of the fields in here is the load action zone ID. So we know when to trigger and to bring that available to a particular, like when I say the building mold, like let's say I have a box. If the building mold is in a certain action zone, load zone, when you walk into it, that load zone basically tells it to now show that box in the scene. If you're too far away from it and you're outside the load zone, then basically it doesn't show it. So it's tracking objects before they get seen and deciding when to show them and when not to show them. Now, in our case, we're going to tweak that idea just a little bit. We're going to need an action zone ID, but what happens is it'll be an action zone ID that turns on and says these particular animations need to be loaded when you're in this zone. Then we're actually going to, when an avatar walks into that zone and it triggers that they're in there, it's going to go out to the database using JSON, and it's do a JSON call, and it's going to come back with these additional animations, then load them onto the avatar. So that's kind of the process of where I'm going right now. So the way to tell which animations are tied to what, to whatever piece you're working with would be to have a field in here that says action zone ID in this table right here. So avatar animations, and I'm going to do this two ways. First thing is in avatar animations, I'm going to edit this, alter this table. Since we're developing, we can't just, put it in there and have it just automatically run. So we need to create first this here, action zone ID, and that's a varchar 16, and by default it's blank because all the rest of these do not have an action zone ID. There's no need for one. So I'm going to move that up the list here a little bit. I kind of want that. This is one of those fields that gets used more often than some of this other stuff. It's kind of one of our primary fields. Well, it is a primary field of a different table. And so up here with load priority, user ID is who put it there. I'm going to put it right near the top. And the reason is it's going to be a definer deciding when something gets loaded. So it's more of our core stuff, and this is all the things that drag along with it, basically. So it's more like something else we might index if the system starts running slow. And it is a foreign key from another table, so I tend to put those near the top of the list anyway. I'm going to say OK on that. And the other thing is, if I go in here, there's a table. Well, there's a place where we edit tables in our functions, and it is table definitions. Where is tables? There it is. Okay, and in here, actually it's alphabetical. It's not that far. Avatar animations are right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another line in here. Call this Action Zone ID. It's not that it's not going to allow that. We're going to say DFAU. Gosh, I can spell. Default, and it'll be just like that. So now we have that value in there, and it'll be added to any tables. And then finally, the other part of this is if I go up to my init session, in here I say DB version. If I just increment that, it'll automatically tell my code to look and see any changes. It would detect that and add it to anybody else's stuff. So that's a way of making sure that the database gets reloaded for anybody else that's using things. That particular version, okay. We're going to be updating this version when we fly out all these changes we made. We've done a ton of changes with cameras and our avatar orientation to the cameras. So when all that stuff is finished, which should be within the next couple days, then I'm going to push out all these changes to the GitHub repository. Okay. And we'll push them out to anybody that already has a version loaded so that it automatically does the update for you. Okay. That takes care of adding the field to the table. Now what I want to do is when you load the plugin, let me open another version of this here. We're going to run that as an administrator and turn that off and open up. We're going to open up our golf game here. Uploads, content, plugins, and our mini golf game. In this folder, one of the things we have is our functions here. We tell it what to do and when on different pieces. We set some variables. We tell it to admin only hooks, init hooks. One of the pieces I want to do is when we load this, I want to make sure that our default animations are loaded into the system. That way we can grab them and use them. So what I need to do is, those are, well, it's going to be part of this more than anything. Okay, in here, that's not even our table. Well, it is. No, it's not. Okay, our table for golf. Have I done any tables for golf yet? I don't think I've added any tables yet. We've done everything through the code because it would be called WTW Golf. So I haven't actually created any tables for the golf game yet. But one of the things I can tell it to do is in here, it'd be after we change any pieces, that updates the code. Okay. We're going to look and see if a certain fields are loaded into the database. If they're loaded, we're good. If they're not, records. And if they're not, we're going to tell it what to put in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is, Okay, we have the global for that. I did more of this kind of stuff in here. I'm just, well, actually, I didn't do any of it there yet. Okay, here we go. Var z response equals WTW plugins slash query. Why did it move? Query is this. And okay, so then what we're going to do first is select anything from, and the name of our table is, let me think about this a second. We're going to be looking in the avatar animations table. Hey, you guys getting kind of avatar animations, and there's going to be a thing in front of that. So let's see, what was the default? I want to make sure I'm using the code for the tables. Okay. Oh, that's not a great place to find it. Let's look here. In the tables, we have this. I know I do hits to the table in here. Results equals this. Query, describe. Okay, that's not a good example. Show index from a table. Okay. When you want something, you never see it, right? Table name from table name. Okay, here it is. WTW prefix. That's what I was looking for. I knew I had a particular code that tells me the name of the table prefix that they've entered into there. So WTW table prefix, avatar animations, and that'll be where animation name, that's what I'm looking for. Animation name equals, I know, helps if I spell it, A-N-I, spell it out. Animation name equals this. And this name, oops, this name is going to be on WTW, actually I should just call it WTW Mini Golf. I could use anything, but that'll be a good name right there. Okay, so I'm going to check to see if this exists. So then from the response, if I say for response as 0, okay, and here we'll do var, that would be, I think it was just avatar animation ID. Avatar animation ID, yeah. At least I'm consistent with the way I spelled those, right? ID equals blank. And then here I will say avatar animation ID equals 0 and animation ID. Now, by doing it this way, all I have to say is if this is empty, or not is set, then we're going to do something which is now going to be put in our row that we want into the table. So in here, it'll be WTW plugins, query, and oops, missed it by one. Insert into that same table name. That, and that will be, here we go. We're going to go with, there's going to be a whole bunch of values here. Animation ID. Just thinking of, okay, we're going to get to know these couple values. So, okay, so we're going to have the animation ID equals WTW plugins, get random string, and that'll be a 16, 1. We've already done those a few times. Then over here, I'm just going to move that out of the way for a second. We have animation ID. Next we're going to have, we got a whole list of values. Action zone, we do not have that yet. Requires login, user ID, low priority, animation name, animation friendly name, and I should have put a cap in that, sorry. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Animation icon, we're going to leave that blank. Object folder, object file, start. Yes. I knew my brain that fell apart as I was trying to type it. I was reading the next word while trying to type this one. Same thing again. End frame. Start frame, end frame, animation, loop. Speed, ratio, ratio. And sound ID path, and those things we're going to leave blank for now. We'll do a create date, create user ID. We'll do an update date. And update user ID. And that should get us through those values. And now we need the values for each one of these items. I like copying that half of it so that I end up with the same number of variables going in that I had starting out. Just an easy way to get it to there and make sure I don't completely mess up the rows. Create date's going to be now. Update date is going to also be now. Okay, so we have this right here is our avatar ID that we're giving it. So that'll be this period plus that. Okay. Requires login is, do we leave those as blank when we're not using it, or is it a 0? Yeah, it's a 0. Okay, it doesn't require login. User ID we'll get in a minute. Load priority. What were my load priorities like? 40, 50, 100 if it's an on-wait. Okay, so I want to start this thing like at about 200. it comes after the default of all my animations and all that, what the avatar is doing. So if the avatar, for example, walks and whatever else, I want all those movements to load first. These are above and beyond, so these are after the fact. So we're going to tell it to be load priority 200 anytime we load one. Animation name, this will be what we called it up here when we searched for it. It would be WTW Mini Golf Putt. And we'll put that right there. And then we'll call this Golf Putt. I could even, we could do WTW Golf Putt in case somebody else throws one in here. At least we'll know it's WalkTheWeb Golf Putt. It's the one I created. And now this is going to be the path to our animation, which in this particular case is, kind of need to see this. This folder right here starts off by being the content folder. Then we can go plugins, and next is going to be WTW-mini golf. And then we have assets and animations. And if I got all the way to there without misspelling anything, then the next piece is the object file, which will be this name right here. Come on. Copy that name and paste that right here. Start frame is 1. End frame is, we can look this up real quick. Just look inside of our file. This was the animation we created for the putt, and so there are 82. That's right to the end there, and it's an 82. So we know it's 82 frames. I'm going to start by saying animation loop equals 1, but I'm going to tell you in advance, I'm probably going to change that to run once so that you don't just sit there going swinging back and forth one after another. So we'll probably change that after the fact. Speed ratio is going to be 1. And now we just have the user ID, which is going to be WTW plugins user ID. That should be what we need for that. We're going to find out, and we'll make that the update user ID. And you know what? Whatever user's logged in right now, that's the one who added this animation. It should be an admin on your site. So I'm going to go ahead and make that work that way too. And that should put this particular animation listing into the table. And we'll find out here in a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it, oh, not there. It is in this, is it this file? That we have our database version. I'm going to increment that so it tells it to run it on my function. And now when I access the website, it should actually add that to here. So let's find out if it gets added the way it should. And okay. I reverse the order of them so that it shows up on top when we look in the database. Notice it's not here now. And let's see if I did everything right. When we run this page, okay, just by running it and just by having the golf game enabled on the server, it should already check that plugin and do that step. I'm not sure why we're getting just a blank page here, but we're going to find out in our error log and see syntax error, var t variable. Okay, that was, oh, that's today. So's this. Cannot modify header and from headers already sent. What did I try to do with the header? Core functions class admin menu. Okay, I'll look at that one later. This one here, though, looks to be syntax error, expected var. Oh, did I type var when I shouldn't have? Yeah, it's just one of those days. Oh, first of all, it's not var. Sorry, I'm bouncing between different languages. I did a lot of JavaScript lately. Sorry about that. Let's see if it goes through here now. We should load that. Come on. And did I do it more than twice? Oh, that one doesn't have that in front of it. So now our variable is set. And let's find out if that gets a step farther. Nah, we didn't get there yet. Okay, let me find out, is there another error? Yep. Unexpected as. What did I do? Did I do it again? For this as 0. Response. What did I do wrong? For each. That would make a difference. You know, when I do a whole lot of JavaScript and then I jump back over to doing PHP, some days go like this. What I do now? Unexpected operator. Object operator. What did I do? Equals. That is correct. Make sure we got that in the right place. Oh, there are no variables. Did it again. You know, when I mess up, I am consistent. I mess up everywhere. Okay. That should get us a little farther. Okay, come on. I got to be getting closer. Let's look in our error log. No, I missed. Unexpected that operator. Where did I use that? Oh, WTW plugins is also a variable. Thank you. Okay, looks like I got the rest of them. I just missed that one. And let's see. Did I get it? Finally. It's loading something. Yay. Okay. If I ever code something without an error, I'd be more shocked then. But it's finding the errors and get rid of them that makes it worth it. Oh, I still have that box highlighted on his head. That's from working with cameras. I'll leave it there for now because it's not really the focus of what we're doing. And now in animation names, let's see. Nope, I did not get that loaded. Let's see. This would be where we could check to see if there's another error. Nope, there wasn't another error. Okay. Where animation name. Oh, jeez, my fingers went all over the place on the keyboard. Let's try that again. Animation name equals, and we'll call this is WalkTheWeb mini golf underscore putt. And I don't think there's any here, but nope, it didn't make it that far. Let's find out why it didn't get. If this is empty or not set, which means that it didn't find it in the database, which would be empty for starters, then we're going to do something here. We want to just see if it gets this far. And we're going to tell it to, well, let's see if we can get an animation name at that point. Animation name equals that, which should be blank, would be my guess. And I'm just looking to see if we actually made it that far. I don't want to update this in the database for the DB version until we actually get that working, because I don't want to have to keep coming back over to this other place and incrementing the DB file version. So I'm going to leave it that way for now and not tell it to update that, so that we can actually tell it when we want to update that and have it check it. So if this rings out, then we made it this far in the code, and we should get something in the column over here. It should tell us that it's a blank, which is what I would expect at this point in time. Yeah, see, there it is. The avatar animation name is blank, which means it should have tried to insert into that table these values. So the only way that didn't work is if maybe some of these values are strings instead of... I need to check which ones are strings and which ones are not, because if it didn't put it in the table, then that could easily be what's wrong with it. Also, this... Let's make sure we're looking for the right name. We'll paste it just so that it's obviously the same thing. Okay, so it's not in the table. So something did go wrong, and we're going to look. Any other errors happening? No. Okay, so we can get rid of these lines. They were our recent errors. Delete those rows. I'll be checking those other ones later on. Some of these were older dates and I've already fixed them, so I'll just double check them before I delete them from the table. Okay, so why did this not insert into that table? First thing I would guess is alter table. Load priority is a number. Start end frame, animation loop, speed ratio is a number. That's exactly what I predicted. Speed, this. Those are all text values. That one, the priority is a number. And requires login is a number. Okay, I don't see anything wrong with that part yet. So if this, let me take that and move that right here. I just want to see if it actually assigned us a random string, because if it comes in blank, it's not going to insert it into the table. So let's just see what happens there. So our Z animation ID, we do have a string assigned to it, and it means it tried to add it, but there's something wrong in our statement. Values there. Let me check another value here. And let's make sure the user ID happens like it's supposed to. And we'll just make that copy user ID there. Those are the two variables for the most part. So find out what that one's doing. We can also, so user ID comes up. We're fine with that. Okay, why isn't it like in the rest of this? And I'm not getting an error here, which means there's another place we can check for errors. Let's go check the server. Usually this one. Okay. Here. Windows. Temp. And there's our errors. Let's see what it's saying. Okay, so that caught the other ones that we found and already fixed. But there's no new error at the end of this after we fixed. After we fix those, there are no new errors. Okay, let's delete that just so we know. We're not getting anything new. And it's trying to run this, obviously, because it is getting to right here. So let's find out. Yeah, this is not the best way to do this, but let me try. Right here. Equal equals, and we're going to copy and paste this whole line here into here, and I'm already thinking it's not gonna like me doing this, but we're gonna find out all together if it's going to work that way or not. And it would be to right there. Oh, I have single quotes around stuff, so this one isn't going to like single quotes unless I do this with them. Okay. We have to escape them so that it will show me on the screen what they are. Oops. There we go. Otherwise, I can check individual each value, but I'm hoping to get this back where I can put the whole thing into, if I can get the whole thing written out, then I can definitely copy and paste it into SQL and give it a try. So let's see what happens there. It may not even come through. Yeah, see, syntax error. Unexpected token. That happens often when I try to do this. First of all, did I miss one? No, 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 no. I could make... Just thinking out loud here. If we make this... a double quote instead of a single quote around that part, that would do something. Then we should be able to get these parts inserted where they're supposed to be on that. And here we do not even need these now, because they can be exactly as written. You don't need to escape characters when you're using the double quote to get it in here in the first place. I'm just trying to see if there's a way I can get this to spill out onto the screen. We're almost there. Okay, so that... It's not going to like that. It needs console log, a single quote there, and a single quote. No, you can't do a single quote there. Slash double quote, and end it with a slash double quote here. That should get what I want it to do. Let's find out. Nah, it didn't like that altogether. Jeez. Ah, come on. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. We're going to take out the single quotes because I can add them when I go to test this code. So I just want to see it put everything in place here with the commas. So if we remove the single quotes from it altogether, I just want it to spit out what we have here so that I can work with it and give it a try. Might have an extra quote there. No, that should be okay. Oh, when I did the quote. Okay. That one. Then when I do this one, I did the wrong one.
Can't hear you.
Gotcha. That one needs to be there. That one does not. Okay, I think I might have got some quotes in the right places finally, because that looks like it's accepting it. I need to show one double quote, so that would be right there. Okay, so let's give that a shot. See if I get it here. I know it's not that easy to. It's not playing nice. Okay, fine. There's an easier way. I'm wasting too much time trying to get this to do this. All I'm doing is trying to get it to spit out on the screen. Let me take this right here to there, copy that, go to SQL, paste it here, and now based on when we try to run this, I know I probably didn't I didn't save the page, did I? Save the page without that in place and refresh that will give us a code over here. Oh, what I break now? Did I totally mess that up? There's a good chance of that. I'm just checking the hash marks, make sure that we've got it around all the values that need them and not around anything else. Those are all in place. That is the end of the statement, quote there. And that's the end of that. Why is this still... Oh, it probably just did an update. Let's try updating it again here. Yeah, that was the case. It was running a cached version. Happens sometimes. Two things I'm going to grab is, the first one is this would be the new number that it creates if it had created properly. So I'm going to copy that and paste it into SQL as this number. Then the next one is the user ID, which we can grab all over here. That's the user ID. And just doing some troubleshooting. We'll figure this out. If I put that in place there, and we had one here and one here. So now if I run this code and the prefix is just WTW underscore and I run it, what's going on down here? Insert into this, it's going to tell me unknown column avatar animation ID. So I spelled something wrong. Yeah, I sure did. That would make a big difference, and that would probably be the whole reason this code didn't work. So let's put that spelled correct. Animation ID. And now when we load it, let's see what happens, and we should get somewhere. So now in our table, we have it. It loaded it into the table. Okay, that's what I'm hoping for so far. And then the next part is, so that gets it there, and we can tell it, oh, once it's loaded, go ahead and do that. Now this time that we run this page, it should find that it's already there, and it should also update our database increment to not need to update it anymore. And so then it won't be checking every single time. So we should not have two values in here. It should still only be the one. Yep, because it found it, gave it the ID, and then didn't do the insert again. But this time we updated the database, so now it's not even going to check it each time. It already knows that database has been updated, that entry's already been added to the database. Okay, so we've added that in place. The next thing I want to do is this. If I load our little scratch paper here, scratch building, one of the things we have is if I turn on the zones, we created a zone and it's right in front of me here. And this particular zone, we actually labeled it to be a to load the animation when we walk into this particular zone. First thing I'm going to do is set starting position, and I'm going to set my starting position outside of the zone because I want to trigger it and actually see it work. Notice it says yes in the column over here. When I walk forward right now we know we're inside that column. So let's come back here. This is where we need to tie which animations are needed when a user is doing something. So what we're going to do is, there's a couple pieces here. First part is, this is back on our regular code, not the plugin code. And the first thing is this. When I edit the animation, edit the building, edit the ID, and then we're going to load animations. When we edit this particular box, one of the things we need in here is some type of method to be able to select which animations are part of what needs to be loaded and can be confirmed when you walk inside the box. So we're going to make sure that they have certain things loaded. Okay, so if I take this section and come into here, okay, I picked up my glass about 3 different times and it's empty. So it is time to refill my glass and take about a 5-minute break. I will be right back. So I'll be right back. Okay, jumping right back in. Here we go. What I want to edit is the forms page. This is what shows on the screen in the menu. And in this section, we have Action Zone. And we have some different values here. We have a section that brings up that whole area, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the next one is Action Zone parts to include. We're going to do this right before that, and I'm going to create a section. And this section, let's call it WTW underscore, what do I call that? Action Zone parts div. This would be Action Zone animations. Or we could call this Action Zone avatar, because we may have animations for something else later. But that's kind of self-explanatory, so I'll know what it is. The other part is when we load an animation or a section altogether, we have to tell it what sections are shown and which are not. That happens in here. So load animations, first of all the rest of these animations, when it comes in, it sets the form field. So this one decides what shows and what hides. My tendency is I try to hide things before I show things so that it doesn't like get longer on the screen and then shorten. So first thing I'm going to do is hide this section that I just defined. And then when it is a load animations, I'm going to tell it to show WTW show. And just so you know, the show and hide functions basically are dealing with the style display and style visibility. Okay, so now I'm telling it to show this section when I'm doing load animations, but nothing else. In here, we're going to do a couple things. The first piece is, okay, let's give it a title. And I kind of did that right up here. This is just so it's the same format. Okay, we'll call it Load Avatar Animations in Action Zone. And, well, just to see that we're actually getting this far, let's reload the page. It should show up right in this area if I calculate it right. Could be after the load zone at the bottom, but we're going to find out. I want to kind of, I don't need to create a new one. Sorry about that. Let's delete that. I don't want another one in here. I just want to edit the existing one that I've already created, which is load animations. And in here, load avatar animations in zone. It's after the action zone load distance. That's actually fine. I think I'm redundant by saying in action zone. I think that should work just by saying that. And then what I need is a select animations. So we'll call this T. We're going to do two things. We're going to create a selection tab so you can pick an animation. Then we're going to click above that and have a tab that tells it to will be the, what do you call it? Blah 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 blah. A list of the ones that you've already selected and added, so that we can kind of show both in this area. Okay, so the first part, T, load action zone ID. This part is going to be animation. I better put AZ for action zone because I know we already have an animation ID. We already are going to have that. But I need to load this list when we load it up, and then there's going to be a div that are also going to be our btw underscore, and this one will be action zone avatar animations div. Loaded well, I'm trying to be consistent a little bit here. So if I make it this name without the T, it should be, or even I could say animations, because it's going to be a whole list of them. So let's do it with the T. Well, it's not a text field. Okay, let's just do it that way. That should tell us that it's action zones, avatar animations that are tied to the action zone. Between these two things, now when we call this forward, we need to load these two areas. And we only need to load this one if the type, or if when we're loading the action zone, the type is a particular one, if it's one of these action zone types. So let's find out. When this page opens, just thinking of where it happens, this is all in the admin side of things, by the way, so we're not actually going to have this piece loaded when we're using the system. That'll come in later. We'll work about that part. First, I want to be able to set one to be there. Then we're going to tell it how to load it all the time so it's always available and knows which pieces that need to be loaded at any given time. Okay, so admin menu. Blah, 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 blah. That's not what I want. We want the admin code page. And here, what we need is, just thinking out loud, hang on. Okay, so this will be find load action zone form, maybe? Nah, of course. Open action zone form. Okay, that's the one we want. When we open this form, the first thing I check is mold groups, hide, show, blah, 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 blah. I need to know when I come in here, that's creating a new one. If action zone type is not blank, then it is going to get the type, set up this stuff based on the, it's loading all the values. Why is, oh, because that's an existing one. Yes. So there's open action zone form, and then we're going to have set new action zone. I know I've got blah, 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 blah. I've got a bunch of pieces here, and I'm just trying to get the right piece. When I open the action zone form, if it's blank, else, I want to see when it's a new one. If it's a new one, it sets all these values based on this. So that would be for a new one. The only thing I need to know here is if the type, action zone type, is not blank. But if it is blank, am I setting it? Equals action zone type. Okay, so I am setting it, so no matter what, it's going to have a value if they've selected one. So I want to know is action zone type equals, we're going to find out if this is the right place. If action zone type equals, and then we called this load Load avatar animations. Let's see if I got all that right. Okay, here we're just gonna basically there we go. We're gonna get a yep in the column if we loaded that right. So let's find out if I got it in the right place here. Okay, so edit building, edit action zone, selected from the list, and nah, it didn't like something. I probably typed the name wrong. It isn't load avatar animations, but I can find that in here. Load animations. Okay, it was shorter than I thought. So we'll just make that, and now we should know that should give us a yep when we hit the column, and then we're at least attached to something. Okay, edit that, select it from here, and we got our yep. Okay, so that's where we're going to be loading this from. And if it's that, we're going to tell it to run a particular function. We're going to create a new function for this because I don't see anything else in this particular function using it. And I can also see how this could come in handy for like when we reload one opposed to starting a new one. Well, so there's going to be different times where this list needs to be populated. So we're going to copy this and that section and put it like that. Okay, so this will be load AZ for action zone avatar animations. That'll be self-explanatory in that section. We'll put it here, WalkTheWeb.this, and now we're ready to go. This particular one, what we're going to do is we're going to make a call. I kind of like when this thing sits right over in my natural spot, which is the third file I always choose. Okay. I think I might already have something that allows us to get the avatar animations because I do load that list for something else. I load it for our drop-down for our avatars themselves. So I may have something already getting this list. Let's see if we have it here. Let me think. Now you can see why there's so many lines of code sometimes when I'm doing things. When I click here, edit my avatar, let's see, connect. We don't have avatar animations, so there isn't there's mold or object animations. But we do not have avatar animations coming up as a list here. That's very interesting. I thought I did load something like that someplace. What is this one? This one is, when I bring out the animation, the avatars, I'm bringing their animations with them. That gives us a piece of what we want, but I'm not grabbing that's the user avatar animations. That's not the full list of avatar animations. But the good news is this little piece right here is a gem because avatar animations is part of this, and we could get the basic layout of what we need here. Okay, so we're going to do I'll copy that page. We're going to create a new function. And this one is going to be under the Connect directory, and it's going to be avatar animations, which are going to be all animations, not user avatar animations, not to get confused between the two. Then in here, first of all, I do not need their instant, their user, any of this user information. All we need is a complete list of the avatar animations. We do not need user avatar ID, which takes us all the way down through here. We don't need the avatar, so we will not need this section, which loads the avatar with all of its scaling. The only thing we actually need is this piece, and this is going to be what we're returning. Even this stuff isn't going to be needed. Do we need to call it avatar animations or just put them in here? Avatar animations, we'll change that name here. Avatar animations, that will be here. And we can change up this whole bit. We're going to need avatar animations there for an array, and then the rest of this is not needed now. I know, I started with one that had a lot of these pieces. Kind of saves on typing things twice, getting the format all the same each time. Yeah, I noticed. Yep. Okay, watch fields. User avatar animations is not part of what we need. Avatar animation ID, animation IND. I don't think I need that, but I'm going to let it return it. That's just the value of the row that it's in. You can already tell what that is by the drop-down list anyway, so I don't know why that's important here. This name, friendly name, load priority, icon, speed ratio, default speed ratio opposed to the speed ratio. Oh, there's only one. We only need speed ratio. What that was is if you change the speed ratio for your animation on your particular user, then we still had the default that came with the animation. That's all that is. Walk speed doesn't matter because we're not doing that. Total frame, start frame, and total end frame. Those have to do with after it's been loaded into your avatar. So we will not be using any of that. There's also this sound ID stuff, which I did not pull in last time. Okay, we'll need to add that. I'm kind of just glancing at some of this stuff. First of all, we do not need the user table at all. We're only working from this other table. So we'll get rid of that table. We'll get rid of the join. We do not have that value. We will make sure that deleted is not blank, because if you delete an animation, it shouldn't show up in your list. We do not have any user-defined or user-based fields. Load priority is still effective. No, it isn't. I want this list to be in the friendly name order, I believe, because that's what you're going to kind of be looking for when you select something to add it. And this is going to be used by the it's going to be used by, well, it's going to be used by admins who are setting up sites, not end users. So we really do not need to worry about the friendly name being it's going to be the admin setting up a site, not the end user using a site that actually sees these names. Okay, we have friendly name and excuse me. We should also, my tendency is to also put the ID in, because then they always show up in the same order no matter what happens. They'll always show up in the same order. Friendly name first, but if there's two of them with the same name, if there's multiple, it'll always be the exact same listing. Okay, then the only thing would be is if I want to, since I'm doing it now, let's do a couple extra fields. And we're going to include speed ratio, speed ratios there. Sound ID, sound path, sound max distance. Where did I go? Here it is. So sound ID, sound path, max distance, and that's the last of the fields. We'll name them the same thing that we found in the database. So we're returning the same names. And there we go. Okay, so that gives us these values. That creates them as this array. That will make sure that we're getting all the values of the possible things. That puts it into an array that we can use. And now all I need is, using that particular information, that creates... that should do that. Okay, so now we're going to be getting back a list of this through JSON, and we can test that here in a second. In fact, let's test it. That's not a bad idea. This page, avatar animations. Okay, so if I call 3d.http3d.net/connect animations.php, and it's blank. Okay, what's going on? We'll look for errors in here first. Yeah, unexpected sequel. Oh, that's back when I was trying to spit out the words that said sequel after it, because that was over an hour ago. Yeah, and there's no recent ones. Delete those records. Apply. Gone. What did I miss? Avatar animations. Response. Response is that. A deleted equals 0. Order by this and that. That's a really, really simple... That's a really simple thing here. Let me find out how simple it was. Nothing's too simple that I can't screw it up. So if we change that to WTW underscore, and what did I miss? Oh, that's a list. Okay, so the list is there. Means I typed something wrong. Sound ID, sound path, sound max, DISTANCE. That's what I thought it was. Max DISTANCE. Okay. Those are all spelled right. There's no extra commas. That one doesn't have a comma. That should come up correct. Results. Oh, well, that would be a good part. Avatar ID has to have a value for it to run this. Well, we do not have an avatar ID because it's not that kind of a record. So let's take that out of there. it was a condition where it was doing that before it ran anything else here. Now we should see a whole list of everything. And do we? Let's get it. Nope. Okay, what'd I mess up on now? Avatar animation name is not correct. Okay, what did I mess up? Avatar, oh, it's just animation name. It's not avatar animation name. Okay, avatar. It would be animation name. An animation friendly name, is that correct? Yes. Okay. Animation name, okay. Oops. Let's see that work. Okay, now we have values, which is a good thing to check before we expect values to be there. The next thing I want to do is in this area. Where did I move that? That's the wrong one. In this one, this function here, let's see. JSON, okay, that's my getJSON function. Here we go. This is all I wanted to copy, really. Take that, put it here. And then instead of this function, we're going to say response equals, you know what I better do? I've been trying to do them as I see them. So zResponse equals JSON parse zResponse. zResponse. That should get us some values, and then basically from there, we're going to tell it what to do. So first things first, we have a drop down that we just added to our list. And avatar animations, okay, that's our page we used, action zones. This is the name of the drop down we're going to populate. So from here, I wrote a couple functions. One of them that's kind of nice is wtw.clear DDL. This will empty out any current values that are in the drop-down list. That way we're working from scratch, and now we can load the drop-down list here. So now for var I equals 0, I less than z response dot. This is going to be avatar animations dot length. I believe that's how we did that one. And it'll be I++. And that's what we should get back out of here. And just for now, I'm going to tell it to wtw log. Well, let's see if we get this far. It's always good to take baby steps through this stuff. Copy. If this /I is not equal null, then do this step here. Okay, and then this part, name equals this dot animation name. I just want to see a list of things come up in the column when I open this particular page. If we got that far, then everything there should happen. So let's find out if we get to the list and can go through the list. Edit the building, edit the animation, or the action zone, list the animation, and what I mess up. Upload ID is not defined. Didn't I remarked that out. Oh, upload. Ha, that would make a difference. Connect avatar animations, PHP, and there's no parameters needed. They're just available animations on the site. Okay, we have this. And there they are. There's all of our names. Okay, so we have all of our animations, including, notice, WTW Mini Golf Putt. So it is on our list. Yay, that's a good sign. Okay, and a lot of these just say option. We don't have to worry about all that right at the minute, but we are going to need to do, for each one of these, now what I'm going to do is we're going to create options. And I've already done this so many times that when I created the action zone list at the top of this page, I already do something very similar. Right here, option equals this. And I'm not worried about selected options because I'm just going to basically take them from this list and then use them on my other part. So this is going to be a complete list. We don't have to worry about any of these being selected. It's only going to be full items. We create the items. This is going to be the animation name. The text will be, there's two pieces here. I think we might combine them together, because the value is also going to be something of that. Animation ID would be good. And yeah, actually that's all I need from there. And then the name of the list is this. Copy that. And we add the option. The animation friendly name. And I could append that with, in parentheses, this might be helpful. This whole piece again. And make it just the animation name so that you know what type of animation it is. And that will be in the fill in the blanks, so that'll show the whole thing. Okay, and then that's going to be the value, and that will get us through that part. Now, let's walk through some of these pieces. We get this, edit animations, and load animations. Okay, and down here, acknowledge gesture, here they are. Here's all of our animations. So we're going to set this up where you can select an animation, and then you're going to click a button to add it to your list of loaded animations. So that's kind of the theory in how we're going to do this. So I don't need that there anymore. Let's go back to our list. Animations. Okay, back to this part. And here, I'm going to need to set something on load, but we also need a couple things. Load animer. And this will be add. And then I think I need some type of button here, I guess. But I don't want it to be the full-blown buttons that we've used on everything else, because I don't want it to match up like that size, do I? Let's see. Save animation is a huge button. I need it to be, well, Just thinking, if I put a button right above this one, that's going to be so ugly. But if I put it above this whole section, I think that'll actually work better because I don't want to get confused between the sections and put it in the wrong place, and we do just that. Action zone load distance is right here. So if I put this above that, and if I put a couple blank lines after it, now I should be able to add a button here without interfering with everything else. Just trying to think of where I would have done that. I probably did that. In fact, I know where I did it. In Forms, in Mold, there's about 1 million buttons in this one. I'm looking for the same style. I just want it to match. So we have two things. We have H4 opposed to H2 are my headings. Then I have, based on if you click a button, level 10. So it is the same type of button. Yep. Okay, so if I take a line like that and put it into here. See, I'm already using H2 for that. I should be able to use I'm in the wrong place. It's the parts list. Here's where I had it. And put something in there. I can say this should be...
Does it matter that you're talking so loud?
I'm watching the microphone pick up and it sees everything. Okay, we're almost there, we're almost there. This particular one, we need to set what function happens when you click that, and then it'll go through the selected drop-down item, and it'll add it to this list that we've created up here and refresh that list. So that's kind of the idea, but we also have to have it write it to the database so that we can reload it from scratch. So there's a couple pieces here. Yeah, see, we have load avatar animation. This select to add, I bet that's going to be a font color that we can't even see. Just by the look of it. I have a feeling that's going to be hidden. This will be WalkTheWeb dot, let's say, save avatar animation. We'll say save AZ because that's our action zone avatar animation, and we'll create this function in our admin section. Go back here. We loaded our avatar animations. Now we're going to save one. Undo that. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, there we go. Now I'll take the name of that function that we just decided to call it and copy and paste so that I didn't mess anything up on that. There we go. And now what do we want it to do when we do this? Okay, first thing is we have to get the value from this dropdown. So we're going to think about this. var, now I'm back to doing JavaScript. See, I do so much JavaScript that when I went to PHP, I started typing var. That was the start of today, and we're on a better roll now. This will be the animation ID. I should say, do it right. Avatar animation ID equals WalkTheWeb dot get DDL value of that field. And there we go. Now we have that item. The other piece that we're going to need is we're going to need to know the current. We're going to have it right up here. It is going to be the current, that's this, it's this one. The action zone ID. So this will be the action zone ID. We already know that. So let's go ahead and bring that value down here. Var Z. Then we're going to do I know I do these all over the place, but I still, every time I do them, I like copying where I've done it before so that I do them all the same format and the same spacing and the same everything. So if I take this from here and copy that, yeah, copy that, and here we're going to do a couple things. First piece is we need the animation ID. We're going to put that there. You know, I could even just do it this way. Copy that to right here. And the other one is the action zone ID. We'll pass that this way. I'm not going to get rid of that per se, but I am going to, I don't think I need the action zone anymore because we already have that. And I also don't need that. I'm only going to need a couple values here, and it's also going to go to action zones. We'll decide to run the other piece afterwards, which is going to be refresh the list of which ones we're using. But the first thing we have to do is let's go to our action zone ID. It's going to be action zone ID. I'm going to do this same value just for some consistency, and we're going to say save AZ avatar animation as the name of the button. So if I go to iframes and we get our action zones, well, my tea has gotten hot or cold, so I'm going to do a quick 5-minute break and then we'll finish this out. So be right back. Give me just a few Okay, I'm back and here we go. Let's see if I can't get this stuff going. We're close. Iframes page. What we have on here is we have some values. We have the action zone ID already, so we don't have to worry about that. But I need one field for the action zone. Yeah, we'll use this one since it's already a 16 character. And I'll drop it near the bottom here. I like some of these bulk things in JavaScript to always be my last ones. Rotation, degrees, and axis. Let's go after that. We'll create one here, and then we're going to call this the same thing we called the other thing, which means copy paste to make sure I don't type something wrong. And go back to that page. And it's going to be here and here. And then we need a button so that we can tell it what to do. Put that in. Go back to our spot. I know I'm doing a lot of back and forth. I could close a half dozen pages here, but it actually is tracking which pages I made updates to so that I make sure I get them all in GitHub. So there's method to my madness of leaving them all open at the moment. I know it's not as convenient as closing them and not having to scroll so many places to get past it, but okay, so save. Okay, save avatar animation for action zone, and then we're going to need a function up here. Case that and break. And we may have, I don't know if we're going to have some that needs to come back from that or not. But until we decide, I can just put one in here and we'll decide if we need to send values back to the thing. Okay. So that fires off that, and then up here what we're going to need is we're going to need to tell it what to run. We already have action zone ID is this, that's passed, IND, action zone ID. So action zone ID is actually right here. And okay, so then in our class action zones, in this section we need a function. So we're going to take one of these that do something similar. It does a quick update. Where are we going to store these? We need to actually create another table. That actually, I keep saying actually. I say actually a lot. Let's start there. First thing we need to do is we need to create another table. And this one is going to be related to our action zones, but it's going to be create table, and this particular one is going to be called WTW underscore action zone animations. I don't think we need avatar animations on this because this could be used for animations for avatars and not. So we'll just put it in here. Oh, yikes. Okay, so action zone animations, and then we will create first table, which will be action zone animation ID, and that will be a, I like using varchar, if I can get to it, varchar, slow down, varchar 16, and we will set that ourselves. It will be unique, no AI involved. And then the next one will be action zone ID, which is also varchar 16. And we're going to say not null on that one. And then we're going to have animation or avatar animation ID. You can always add a different thing in this table for another type of ID, but in this case, I'm going to leave that in there. I should say not null on that for now. If we decide to change that later, we can. Then we'll do our create date. You know, there's a faster way to do this. And just trying to think if there's a way that I need to bring this back with other... Well, action zone's already coming back. We only need this when we call it. We're fine. Okay. You know, there's a faster way to do this. If I just alter table, come down here, do create user ID through deleted, copy that, and jump back here. I can paste, and we have the other fields that we do with our values, defaults, and everything else. Okay, so there's only 3 values in this table, but this is going to be a nice key value table that tells us which items need to be loaded for each of our things. So we click apply that, finished. We will probably sort this by action zone ID. You got it. These fish have manners. Okay, my spelling here for manners. First I started with manor, M-A-N-O-R, and I was like, no, these fish do not have castles, manners. No, so then I was like, M-A-N-N-E-R-S or M-A-N-E-R-S? I don't know. Spelling. Making me spell on... You're not supposed to have to worry about spelling on jokes. It looked right when I spelled it, so I couldn't be too far off. Okay, we are going to also, while we're in here, we have tables, and I want to make sure that we add this new table in the mix. So I'm going to take this here, and the ending after one of these is just that. Copy that. Put that there. Delta create table is the function I wrote. Yeah, Ben spelling's not a sign of being unintelligent. That's a double negative, which means you're calling me intelligent. I work. That works. I'm too busy to remember how to spell things. Actually, I spell variables all day long, so they don't have to be spelled correctly or anything. They just have to match whatever you did the first time. So definitely. Okay, so this particular table, the new table we just created, what I'm going to do is, before I move on too far, I'm going to take that table and I'm going to Table inspector, no. Table maintenance. Table inspector, is it table inspector? I always get those two confused. Nah, it's the one that opens faster, which means that this one isn't it. Oh, it is the index. It's okay. Found the right place. I'm going to create an index, and what I want to index is I want to index this and this. Now, I'm going to create an index that involves all three, but I'm going to make it action zone ID, avatar, and then, yes, that's the order I want them. That way, what I can do is it makes it real easy to use the index based on non-unique, but it'll be fast all the time for whenever I need to bring things out of here. So if I'm grabbing for a particular action zone, they're already indexed, boom, it'll come up. So even if there's 50,000 of them in here, it'll still come up fast now. And now that I've done that, I can take this here and go here, and the create statement, take this as is, copy that, and paste it into here. And then the only other piece that I need to modify after doing that is our name of our tables. We add this little table prefix piece so that we can have multiple ones in the same thing that work. And then I also add that to the front of the key field so that it automatically ties that in there. I can even cut that out like that. So it's basically this name up front, the table prefix, and then that. That way, the unique key isn't an issue. The primary key isn't an issue. Or is the unique key an issue? Yeah, unique key has to have a unique name, so we'll put the table prefix there. Okay, so between those three different places, by doing that, if you tried to load this instance twice in the same table, then into the same database, then basically the table names of the indexes won't clash. So that's why I always do that little extra step there. That tells us we have a new table and how to create it. And then back to where we were, which is we are at the stage of creating the function that will write this stuff to the table. So let's create a function that looks kind of similar to that one. Throw it here at the bottom, right after that. And this one's going to be update action zone avatar animation. That will pretty much get those pieces. Then we'll have the action zone ID and the avatar, AVA, avatar animation ID. Okay, so we have these two values coming in. We're going to see if you have access to the whatever you're working on. This particular one only checked access for a building, but we could check it for a building, community, and thing to make sure you can do these changes. You can't even edit the action zone without that. So I'm going to remark this out for now, come back and hit it later because I want to make sure if we need to pass that building, community, and thing, or if we have them as variables someplace, I will double check that. But this part is going to be, we're going to first look to see if this record's in place. If it isn't, then we're going to add it. So update action zone on building mode. Okay, let's leave that with this. I tried to add more notes on certain things. Update action zone ID. Yeah, we are gonna, what am I gonna do? We're gonna be inserting insert for action zone. So we're going to insert the avatar animation for the action zone is what the actual thing's going to be when we get there, which means this whole function insert into that will be our new table, which is, if I slide this over a little bit, we can read it. And just to have it open so we can see all the field names, we'll do it that way. Okay, so it will be this piece, action zone animations. And then we are doing not that kind of thing. Okay, so this will be, let me think. Starting with action zone, no, yeah. Animation ID. And action zone ID. Action, is it action? No, avatar animation. Animation ID. Create date. Create user ID. Update date. Update user ID. That will give me the fields, and then I need to insert the values. And in this section, it will be create date we already know is now, and update date is also now. Okay, and then we will do our IDs in just a second. We have the avatar animation ID, which will be, okay, sure. This one, just like this. Okay, getting some values around it. And then we have the action zone ID. Make sure I spell that all correctly. And we'll do the same thing like that. And now we need this value, which will also be a same type of thing by the time we're done here. And we'll put a Z in front of it just for our internal variables. That one is going to be equals $WalkTheWeb iframes get string get random string. Why is it every time I tap the greater sign it takes the cursor? It's got to have some trigger code on that one. Get random string 16 oops comma 1 tells us what type, and that will get us through getting a variable there, or a value, and inserting it into the table. And then we just need this part here, which will be everything I already did up here. Iframes through there, and user ID. And I can just take and copy that to this user ID. Okay, so that will put in our value into the table. I'm going to do a little check here first. I want to make sure z results equals, and we're going to find out if that value already exists before we go using it. So this will be select, and the only thing we really need to know is this from we are using this table with the prefix where, and we have a couple things. We have action zone ID equals this value. And avatar animation ID equals this value. Okay, and let's see, I like telling it, when I'm only expecting one value, I like telling it limit 1 so that it doesn't have to keep looking once it finds one. And of course, it's a protection against SQL injection to a degree. We know ways around it, but hey, yeah. Got to do as many type of things as you can to protect yourself. Now we want, I'm going to set this value here. Before that, this value equals blank, and then we're going to do this test and say for each the results as 0. Then if there's any results, we will set this equal to 0 and our animation ID right there, which will get us that value. And now we can just say if empty or not is set, then we want to do all of that to there. Else, we're going to do an update statement because it could be there, but it could be set to deleted. So we're going to make sure it's not deleted and basically confirm. So let's take this section here and indent it a little farther. Making a complete function here, making it all work right. So that means we already have this value, and so now the query that we're running is going to be update this table, set deleted equals 0. Let's see. Deleted date equals null. Deleted user ID equals blank, and deleted equals 0, where, and that will be where this action zone animation ID equals the value, which is that name. And I can't even say, well, it's not going to be blank because you're never going to get here if it's blank. So, and there we go. So that will do an update. We'll give it a success either way if it does an insert or an update, but it checks our value and it will make sure it's in, if it exists already, we'll just update the current record so that we don't end up with duplicate records in the table of the same thing. We don't need to load the animation more than once. So that kind of protects us from it. Now, on this particular function, let's update that right there. And now that's the name of the function that we're going to call from this page when they do this right here. So we need $, WTW, action zones, which is that class we were just working in. That's the name of the function, and then we're going to be sending in two values. One is the action zone ID, and the second one is right down here, the avatar animation ID. And we did them in that order, so we should be good. That will run the process. It will save the value, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so we have this pretty good. Let's see if we get a new record in this table when we run this process. That's pretty much what I want to do so far. Let's see if we get there. If everything came together on that part, then we should be in good shape. Edit the building, edit that, edit this load animation zone. Excuse me. And I go through here. See, it's bad text. I can fix the text. We'll give it whatever type of class it needs to show the text. I'm going to click on that one, and then I'm going to click on Add Animation. Now that, unexpected. Okay, we have an error. Okay. In our iframes page, where did I even use? That's all set, no problem there. There's no problem here because that's just that. There is no, it's just a class and a break, okay. And I didn't do the wrong squiggly bracket or anything there. Okay, so it happened on this, but it's actually happening here. Let me see, I remarked out the top, I remarked out that line. Did I get the rest of these in place? That one is there. I'm just checking the different. Oh, there's a missing piece there. That would do it. That might be all it was. I know, it's a technicality. So let's refresh that and try it again and see if that caught it. Nice to know my error stuff works. It popped up on the screen there. That's a start. Added that a few weeks back, about a month ago. So if I load animations, I'm working with this particular one, and we scroll down to here and say, let's add the, whoops, I missed it by one. The putt is right there. And I click add animation. It should automatically add it. And we didn't get an error that time, so let's check our table. And we have it in the table. Yay! Okay, so now, action zone ID came through undefined, and so did that. Let's find out why. That would be, oh, I know why. When I did, see, you know something, I tend to use we a lot, and which means I'm trying to blame you every time I make a mistake. Okay, see this file name fail path? Those are not the values. It is this and this. So action zone ID should be going through right there, and this should be the avatar thing. The other part is, while I'm at it, let's add a Z in front of this request name. And now we should have that value, and that value be passed in, and then hitting that particular function. So let's try this again. I'm going to delete this value. Didn't work. It wasn't the right one anyway. And then we're going to try it again. So let's refresh the page. It's on the JavaScript, so we had to refresh the page to get the JavaScript to reload. And now building, here we go, that. Select it here, load animations. And finally, go here and scroll all the way down. Pick our animation, click Add Animation, and everything, it will be populating the list that's above it, so you'll actually see it move when you do it. That'll be the response that you'll get. And now we have the right value. Oh, we have one of it too. Come on. Undefined. What did I miss? Okay, I'm getting close. I'm getting close. Oops, it's not on this page. We passed these values to there. Oh, I think I know what I did. Let's go on this page. When I pass the value and I check the name down here, and it's both values, so it's there, and it's up here. Undefined usually comes from a JavaScript side, though. So it would mean I messed up something back here. That is avatar animation ID, request, avatar animation, Z, avatar animation ID, which is the same name there. Action zone is correct. So this value somehow, if I pass the right one, then that means, now let's find out. This here came in here and it was passed properly there. That's why I copy all these things instead of just doing it all the time. Let's see. We have this value, avatar animation ID, and then here it's the same value. Well, there's one way to double check. And right here, when we get this value, let's spit that on the screen and find out what this actually says for that value. It should be get DLL value of that particular dropdown, and then we're setting it here to that value, which is the same name on the iframe page. Okay, I don't see anything wrong there. Let me find out if it's happening by here or if we're getting past this part. So we should get the part here in the column. We'll know soon enough here. We're almost there. Load the animation and scroll down to there, and add animation, undefined. See, we did not get it from there. Okay, let's figure out what's going on. Get DDL value of this, which, make sure we typed it right. It's a select. Oh, it's also a hidden value. There's our problem. Oh, that's in our iframes. No, it isn't our problem. Why does it not want to? I think this one also has a default value if it's not found. It's possible. Nope, get DDL value, and that's the piece that you're pulling in. There's nothing wrong with that. Why would this one not find? Undefined. We're definitely putting it in here. We're clearing that same name, and we're populating that same table. The value, when we populate it here, the value is animation ID. Oh, that's where we're wrong. That's where it's undefined. Okay, it would be avatar animation ID. That's why it's messed up. Okay, now I think we got it. I said that last time. But no problem. We're persistent. That's the last thing. No matter what, we'll be persistent. We'll always get to where we need to be, one way or another. And when I click OK, now we have an actual ID. And in the table, we should now have that value. And we can get rid of this other one. We won't be using it. And then the last thing I want to test is just making sure if I try to add that same one again on here. So I go in here and I say, oh, here's another one. And I click Add Animation. It ran the process again. But in this case, we did not add a second one, so our function blocked us from adding a second one. Okay, and just to check to make sure it did the update statement, we're going to call it deleted just to do it. And then come back in here one more time, click this, add animation, and just because we added it again, it went a third time, and we have refresh. And it's back to 0. So the update statement worked, the insert statement worked, and we were able to detect if it already existed in the table with our select function. And we now have an item that is tied in the database to this action zone ID, and it brings it all back for us. So we made the round trip, we were able to save it, add it, and we do have it now in our, when we're editing this, we can add and tie different animations to it. So we still have a lot more to go, but I'm going to call it a day, and we'll get back to you again next time, where we'll continue some of this process and see if we can't put the whole pieces together and make it all work. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. I want to thank you for watching, and all of you that followed. Appreciate you following. That's been great, but thank you for watching. Okay, and have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Survive the Monday. Survive the Monday.